I am very worried about the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. With the recent success of video game remakes, it is inevitable that we would eventually want to do the Metal Gear games, but it's been a question for a while to me about how you would do this. Because Kojima, the director of these games, the creative vision, one of the greatest auteurs in video games, is not on speaking terms with the owner of the IP, which is Konami. This is an incredibly rare situation where the original creator won't be involved in any capacity because they don't get along with the IP holder. With a lot of the really successful remakes of classic games, the original director or creative team was usually involved in the production. And in no franchise is this more important than Metal Gear because those games are so uniquely tied to the distinct creative identity of its creator. So I'm already trepidatious about any remake of the Metal Gear Solid games that doesn't involve Kojima's creative direction in any capacity. When the trailer premiered at PlayStation Showcase, my biggest question was, okay, who is the developer? I was hoping that PlayStation's first-party studios were involved because they have a good relationship with Kojima, and even though Konami and Kojima are not on speaking terms, if another first-party studio at PlayStation was in charge of developing the game, there could probably still be some communication with Kojima for him to sign off on things, give his blessing, or act as a creative advisor. So I was hoping that this is what Bluepoint had been working on, but it turns out this is entirely a Konami thing, and that is not a good thing. We have seen what happens when Konami tries to make a Metal Gear game without Kojima's involvement. They have never shown any care for the artistic merits of any of their properties, and instead tried to milk their properties dry with egregious microtransactions and shady business practices. They've been far more concerned about making pachinko machines than they have been any actual AAA game in the last 10 years. That's why when the remake of Silent Hill 2 was announced, I was relieved that Bloober Team, a bona fide horror studio, was helming the production. The fact that they didn't say who the production studio was in the reveal trailer was very concerning, and I did some digging. It is being developed by Vitrios in conjunction with Konami's internal studios. Who is Vitrios, you ask? They're a massive multinational studio that provides support in art, programming, and design across a variety of AAA games, a lot of which have come out, done very well, and that you've heard of. But they don't design games themselves. And it is not hyperbole for me to say that Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of the greatest games of all time, and the Metal Gear Solid franchise is one of the greatest video game franchises of all time. This is high art. Who is directing this remake? Who is the director? There is no perfect comparison, but this would be like if ILM was making a remake of Citizen Kane, and the director was just some guy who worked at ILM. ILM is great at what they do. They provide support to a lot of movies, but they don't make movies on their own. I feel like this just kind of goes back to the fact that video games are still not treated with the artistic respect that film and other older forms of entertainment are treated with. To me, it's outrageous that a world-class known studio with a known director is not involved in this project in any way. Does this mean the game is going to be bad? Absolutely not. Again, it's a remake. You could just follow the blueprint of the original. I personally feel like elements of Metal Gear Solid 3 need to be expanded. I don't think if you just made it super HD and it was a one-to-one remake, it would translate well to a modern game. There are a lot of elements of it that are restricted by its technology, and if you were to remake it in modern day, it would need to be reimagined. Simply just swapping in high-res models and having the exact same level design and the exact same game, I don't think is a sufficient way to do a remake of one of the greatest games of all time. I want this to be good. My fingers are crossed, but I am also incredibly trepidatious and nervous and kind of upset that after all this time, this is the best Konami can do for the Metal Gear franchise.